Hyde Park, Vermont, and remember, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we know price matters.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy.
The guy told me I was no spring chicken anymore, and that's why my ankle was still hurting. I'm 33, not 133.
The passion.
The Red Sox handling of Xander Bogaerts is a complete organizational failure.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
No, not this year, but it's next year where Bill Belichick ends up on the hot seat.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show back at it here on a Thursday, a full show Thursday. Getting closer and closer to the Super Bowl between the Eagles and Chiefs, closer and closer to the end of the week. Everybody drive safe out there. I'm told it's kind of nasty out. So all 90 minutes, we're up until 7 o'clock. Buster Olney of ESPN is going to stop by as he does every Thursday at 5:45. We're less than a week out from the first workout at spring training. Can't wait for that. Coming up at 6:30, we're going to talk with UVM women's basketball star Emma Utterback. Her team won again last night. The Catamounts are a half game out of first place in the America East. They've won 9 consecutive games. They're 9-2 in the conference. Get to a busy NBA trade deadline as well. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can watch the show live on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and my Twitter account as well.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber. They are Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. I see a lot of people still talking about the Tom Brady podcast with Bill Belichick, right? We came in and talked a lot about it on Tuesday, but 2 days beyond that, we are still getting a lot of reaction to this. Remember this, right? Brady and Belichick talk so nicely about each other. I said as a Patriots fan, it gave me closure. It made me feel good. I thought it was a great thing. Brady and Belichick sitting down together, burying the hatchet, feeling good, saying nice things about each other. I was pumped on Tuesday when we did the show and talked about it. Apparently, no one else felt good about this podcast appearance because all I see is anger about it. Right? On Tuesday, I feel great. Brady and Belichick are good. Door is open to the one-day contract. Door is open for Brady to come back and be a big part of the organization. We're going to have a ton of events. Brady's going to be honored. Belichick's going to be at a lot of them. It's all going to be awesome. I'm thinking everything is perfect. But now, on Thursday, all I'm seeing is hate about this podcast interview. Why are you people not happy? One group of people says, well, if Belichick loved Brady as much as he showed on Monday, well, why didn't he keep him around? One group says, see, Belichick and Brady always loved each other. You media people, you fake news people. The rift, it never existed. It was all made up. The media stinks. Then there's another group of people that say, why the hell is Brady lying? There was beef. Why is he pretending like there wasn't? I don't like that. Hold the grudge. Don't cave. And then today I even saw somebody say that the podcast was a silent shot at Mac Jones. No one can be happy about this. I tell you, it gives me closure. Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio said it gives closure, but no one else seems to buy that. Let me just cut through the crap for a second and all the BS, and let me tell you the exact situation at play here, right? This is the exact situation at play. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady always had and always will have an affection for each other. They accomplished a lot together. They know they accomplished a lot together. They know they needed each other to accomplish a lot together. There has always been and will always be a respect and admiration. That is true part one. But the beef, it was real. And it was real, especially from Tom Brady's side. You can't deny it. You people that want to tell me, oh, the media made it up. There was no beef. Yeah, there was. There was a beef. Bill Belichick wanted to move on from Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not want to move on from the Patriots. Right there, there's a conflict. There was a beef. There was hurt. There was pain. There was resentment. There was sadness. There was anger. That was all very real. The media did not make that up. Bill Belichick wanted to move on. Why? Well, he'd been in the NFL for 50 years. He'd never seen a quarterback be good into his mid-40s. We always talk about Belichick being great for moving on a year too early rather than a year too late. He didn't want to build around a 43-year-old quarterback. Football-wise, I can't really blame him, by the way. Now, I think Tom Brady deserved to end his career in Foxborough, but that's heart. That's not head. That's not football, right? That's not a football decision by me. That's a heart decision. Bill Belichick wanted to move on from Tom Brady. At the end of 2019, when Brady struggles, I imagine Belichick felt confirmation in his feeling that he was going to be right about this. Tom Brady didn't want to move on. He didn't want to leave New England. He didn't want to leave a fan base that loved him, a place where he had won, the only place that he had never, ever known. And I'm sure it really did hurt him to see Bill Belichick, a guy that he loved, respected, went to battle with, not want him anymore. To see an owner in Robert Kraft that he loves and respects, not fight for him. To see a fan base be forced to move on. And I'm sure the competitive side of Tom Brady was miffed and ticked off and saying, screw you, I'm going to prove you wrong. And that's what he did. So the beef certainly was real. There was love and affection. If Belichick loved Brady so much, he would have kept him. He did love Brady. He never loved the idea of a 43-year-old quarterback. Oh, but Brady, they loved each other. Did you hear the way they talked? There was no beef. Yeah, there was. When you get your heart broken by somebody who's broken up with you, there's going to be a beef there. Right? There's going to be an emptiness there. There's going to be a resentment there. That was Tom Brady, a jilted lover in this situation. And then there are the people, Brady had a beef with him for sure. Why is he backing down now? Well, guess what? What do you care? If Tom Brady's glossing over the bad parts, or if Tom Brady's acting too nice about it, why do you care? Don't you see divorces that were bad get repaired after some time goes on? Don't you see relationships that turned out to be okay in the end? You may not be married anymore, but you can be in the same room after a period of time. And you can be friends after a period of time beyond that. You can get over the hurt. You don't get bonus points for holding grudges in life. You just don't. So the people that are so upset about this podcast appearance, I can't even believe it. This podcast appearance was a good thing. You had two people who loved and respected each other come to the table and say that. We didn't know we were going to get that. We did. That's good. You had two people where there was a beef that is now squashed. That's good too. And as for Tom Brady not holding the grudge, give him credit for that. Right? Give him credit for being mature enough to bury the hatchet. Give him credit for recognizing all the good times and not harping on the bad times. Some of you want him to just lambaste Belichick and take a harpoon to him, but it shouldn't be that way. Tom Brady's 45 years old. Does he need to have the pettiness of an 18-year-old, of a 24-year-old, of a 30-year-old? No, he doesn't. Now that Tom Brady's retired, why do you blame him for putting down the competitive sword and saying, you know what we did was pretty great together? Tom Brady's entering the next phase of his life. What if he wants to just do it on a positive note with mended fences? What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Some of you want him to, again, just shun Belichick. Texter says, I don't care about how Brady acts Why have you not changed the intro yet? Because Super Bowl week is the busiest week of my year, and I don't have time to change the intro yet. That's why I haven't changed the intro yet. Spring training workouts begin next Wednesday. We will have a new intro by next Wednesday. It will say some things, I'm sure, that incorporate baseball. It won't mention Xander Bogaerts. It is what it is. This is the busiest. I did 6 interviews on Tuesday. I did like 4 yesterday. I did a couple more. I got a couple more today. Some of I pre-recorded an interview with C.J. Watson, former NBA player, that I didn't even play on the show. It's on the podcast channel. It's the busiest week of the year for me. Guests booking, tracking things down, doing interviews, some of them pre-recorded, cutting up social media. And it's not woe is me. It's a great job, and I love it, and I love this week. But when you ask me what's the thing that goes to the wayside, it's the intro. So, yes, we'll have a new intro by next week. People are like piranhas out here, blood in the water. I appreciate the close listening, but damn. I mentioned spring training. I mentioned we'll have a new interview or a new intro by next week. Puts me in the mood for baseball. Buster Olney calling in now a few minutes early today. I see Buster dialing us up here.
All the insight into everything going on in baseball. It's time for our weekly conversation with ESPN baseball insider and Vermont native, Buster Olney.
I'm just about ready to bet the family farm in Vermont.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
ESPN MLB insider Buster Olney with us now here on the Brady Farkas Show. Buster, inside a week until spring training. Next time we talk, you will be, I presume, somewhere at spring training. You have your hotels booked, your bags packed, and your plane reservations made, or what?
Yes. Excited about that. Going to land in Tampa. The Major League Baseball is going to hold a session about, the new rules next Wednesday, which means when I talk to you next week, I'll give you some breakdown on what they told us. Hanging out in Dunedin and going down to Fort Myers, seeing the Red Sox, seeing the Twins. We're going to be flying right into it here just in a week, less than a week.
Because so many key players are going to be leaving for the World Baseball Classic, is there more urgency in you to get to certain places early in camp while teams are whole?
Not necessarily. Look, a lot of times when you go to spring training, you don't. You just want to catch up with people, and you don't know who you're going to run into on a given day. If there's not a big press conference or something. So if I walk into the Yankees camp and some of the key members of the Yankees are not there, then there'll be plenty of people to talk to. A lot of folks to catch up with and get perspective in. That's one of the cool things about spring training. It's so laid back, and it's easy to have conversations. You get a lot done.
We've seen a couple of moves obviously made. A couple weeks ago, there was the big Marlins and Twins trade, but largely since the new year, the transaction market has dried up. Do you think that is a product of somewhat of the World Baseball Classic and that teams wanted to have their roster set early because they just wanted to account for that? Because there's still the players out there that are unsigned. We talked about Michael Wacha last week.
Yeah, and I think it probably, we reached the stage in the winter also when this was in relation to Wacha that I think if you're a player, you're unsigned, you might feel like you're going to benefit from waiting for an injury to develop. Not to say that Michael Wacha is waiting for some other players to get hurt, but I think he's in a position where he knows that, injuries happen. And, maybe that, when a team suffers or loses starting pitcher, he's going to have more interest in him. Maybe, other players at other positions will have that too.
I'm sure you saw these comments the other day by Kike Hernandez. He was on the Chris Rose podcast with John Boy Media, and he said he really helped recruit Justin Turner to come to Boston. And he said part of the reason I wanted Turner is we needed a culture change. And he thought that Turner would be a great guy in the clubhouse. Now, those comments struck me as interesting because I'm like, okay, is that a shot at last year's leadership group? We had Tom Caron on yesterday from Nesson, who's obviously tight with the Red Sox. He said he didn't read it that way, but I need you to break the tie, Buster. When a guy says we needed a culture change, that raises eyebrows to me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a culture change per se. I think in terms of like the culture was bad before. But I think given the circumstance for the Red Sox this year, all the conversation around the team, they know that Justin Turner is going to be a real positive influence. I had Dave Roberts on my podcast, the Dodgers manager, just interviewed him yesterday, and he talked about Turner being an extension of the coaching staff. And when there's something going on, Justin was great in how he brought perspective. And let's face it, the Red Sox potentially, could use an injection of glass half full, optimism, professionalism in a year in which they might struggle, and the fans are not going to react well. And you and I have had this conversation. And we felt like I felt like being around the team that it was a distracted group at times, where it felt like that all the contract stuff, the trade stuff, became cancerous at times in terms of them going about their work. I'll never forget the day you and I talked about it after it happened when Christian Vasquez was traded, and how angry the players were, about how that was handled. It doesn't mean Justin Turner is going to necessarily save the Red Sox, propel them from a 78-win team to a 98-win team. But I do think players like that help out over the course of the year, and Justin has a proven track record for that.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider, with us here in the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. I want to switch gears with you here for a moment. This was a big talking point for us yesterday on the show, and I need you to kind of break the tie on this too. So we were talking about Tom Brady, we were talking about LeBron James and career longevity and accomplishment. And my question to you is, what story arc impresses you more? The out of nowhere storyline like Tom Brady, or the has the expectations and fulfills them and exceeds them like LeBron James?
Wow. And I can remember watching LeBron in high school.
Yeah.
When the ESPN was broadcasting his game, and you could see right away what an incredible passer he was. He turned out to be a much better scorer than I ever imagined that he would be, and how dominant he was. I always liked the stories about, the players who exceed expectations, and Tom Brady being a 6th-round draft pick. And, I actually was covering the NFL and covered that Super Bowl. We're going into the last days before, as Drew Bledsoe was coming back from injury. It was an open question day to day. Bill Belichick was asked every day, well, who's going to be your starter? Is it going to be Bledsoe, or is it going to be Brady? And so when Brady was announced as a starter, that became news.
Yeah.
And you think about that, where he was and where he got to, in baseball, I think everyone's going to be, one of the conversations about Mike Trout has been like, how did that guy last till like the 25th pick in the draft?
Yeah.
He's so big, he's so strong, he's so fast. You love that. This year, Gunnar Henderson of the Baltimore Orioles, he got picked in the 2nd round. And already at 21-22, he's the easy front runner to win American League Rookie of the Year. And so that's a fun conversation. Like, how did everyone pass on him? Michael Jordan was the 3rd pick in the draft. He wasn't the 1st pick in the draft. Think about that. I love those type of stories.
On the LeBron thing, though, what makes him so interesting, though, to me also is all the accomplishments that he's had. 4 finals victories, 4-time finals MVP, scoring champion, league MVP, etc. I think about the baseball version of him, and in my lifetime, at least, it's Bryce Harper, right? A guy who you heard about from 16 years old. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I would say that Bryce Harper has certainly met his expectations. He's won an MVP. He's gotten a big contract. He's been to the World Series, but he's not even in the same stratosphere of accomplishment as LeBron. And I'm like, if Harper is seen as hitting the expectations, LeBron is so far over them. That's why I consider what he's done to be so impressive.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And Bryce, I love how he's evolved during his career. I actually think we still might see the best of Bryce going forward, because he just seems like he has figured out so much stuff, especially growing up effectively in the spotlight in the way that LeBron has. But I will tell you this, like, I just had this conversation with my 18-year-old son yesterday. He goes, no doubt LeBron's the greatest. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. I said, there's no doubt he's a better passer than Jordan was. He probably is at least as good a defender as Jordan was. But, in terms of having the ball in the last minute of the game, the last 15 seconds, it's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. The only person who's close to Jordan in the last 15 seconds that I've ever seen was Larry Bird. And LeBron's not even in the conversation of, okay, who do you want to have the ball in the last 10 seconds? He's not even in the conversation.
I put Kobe in the last.
Saying,
I put Kobe in the last 15-second conversation.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
But I think LeBron, kind of like Magic Johnson. I grew up a huge Laker fan. Like in the last 15 seconds, there are a lot of moments when Magic didn't do great. You know, he had that one sky hook in Boston Garden, and that was great. But he also had some times when he dribbled out the clock, and LeBron was kind of like that too. So I'm not ready to just put him on the mountaintop and say he's the greatest of all time. Jordan was ridiculous in those moments.
There was one more Red Sox question I wanted to go back to, and I admit that I haven't done a lot of digging on this one, and it's the book that just came out from Evan Drellick, or maybe it's coming out soon here. It's kind of more about the Astros sign-stealing scandal, but it doesn't appear that Alex Cora comes off looking very good in that. Is there something there that I'm supposed to now think less of Alex Cora than I did before?
Since the excerpts came out in the Boston Herald last week, I've been asking the same questions. The one thing I'm going to say this, the one thing I've learned in my time covering sports is that there are different versions of history according to who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be the case here. I think depending on who you talk to, there would be different versions. And, I remember, after the sign stealing scandal broke, there were all these stories about effectively how Alex Cora, Carlos Beltran bullied other players into going along with the sign stealing. And I asked a bunch of people in that clubhouse, and I was like, so is that how it was? And they're like, no. So I that was simple of that to me. And so it is what it is. The Alex Cora that I read about in excerpts is not the Alex Cora that I know, and other players don't know either based on my conversation.
Buster, I'll get you out of here on this big story this week by your colleague at ESPN, Jeff Passan, and was talking with Steve Cohen. And basically the premise of the column was that Steve Cohen pushed back on his haters and said, if you don't like how I'm spending, you could spend too. And I gotta ask you, because I am one of the guys that's not necessarily a fan of Steve Cohen, right? But I want to know, how did fans get brainwashed? Because clearly I've been drinking the Kool-Aid from front offices about terms like value and control and service, etc. How did we as fans get brainwashed? Because Steve Cohen is the exact guy I would have loved at 15 years old to run my favorite team. But at 33, I'm thinking he's a devil to the sport. How did fans fall into that trap?
Yeah, and it's interesting because agents ask the same question. Like a really smart agent who I know said, how is it that everyone, fans, they focus on that as opposed to winning? That being the most important thing, getting the best value. The geniuses in the sport, in some cases, are teams that haven't won the World Series. And so you're right. I do think that, as after the book Moneyball came out, there was a lot more conversation about making appropriate decisions versus winning. And so I think that, what Cohen has done, clearly he wants to win. What Peter Seidler, the owner of the Padres, has done, he's devoted to the idea of winning, has changed the context in an uncomfortable way for other owners, like John Henry. I think part of the criticism of the Red Sox is because of the spending that we've seen, that's been driven by guys like Cohen and Peter Seidler.
Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider, with us every Thursday. Next Thursday, he's going to be live at spring training. Buster, do you have a Super Bowl pick, Chiefs or Eagles?
Yep, I got Chiefs. I got bets all over the place, and I took the 1.5.
All right, there you go. Buster, appreciate you. Best of luck on those bets, and we'll talk in 7 days.
Thanks, Brady.
Absolutely. I love talking to Buster Olney. John in Moncton says, I love when you talk to Buster Olney. He said that on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. It's always good to talk with Buster, but there are a couple of interesting points that stuck out to me right away. One is that last question is so fascinating to me. I think it's pretty clear that me and a lot of us have been brainwashed by front office types, right? I mean, that has to be true. When I was 10 years old, when I was 15 years old, it was literally, it was all about winning, right? I wanted my team to win, and I didn't care. Just go get the best players you can get. right? Go get the best players that you can get. And I hated the Yankees because that's what they did. That's why they became the evil empire, right? That's why Theo Epstein coined them the evil empire, because they went out and got all the best players. And I wanted my team to do that. But then somewhere between the time I was 15 and now, in the last 18 years, I have switched my plan here. I've switched to value, under the couch cushion guys. Go get the diamond in the rough, the late round picks. Let's trade for guys with team control. Somehow we've all been drinking the Kool-Aid, and I don't quite know when that happened. Where I think it happened was Buster says after Moneyball, that was one. But then two, we just realized that not every team could be the Yankees. So if every team had a self-imposed limit on spending, then you better find ways to maximize that self-imposed limit. The problem is, where the Steve Cohen way is, he's saying there is no self-imposed limit. That's all a myth. And it's kind of blown out our whole way of thinking. So that really is fascinating. How about Buster getting so passionate, by the way, about Jordan and LeBron? I was not expecting Buster to be giving me basketball takes today. He was so animated about it, though. And he says LeBron's not the greatest player of all time for him. And he says with 15 seconds left in the game, there's many more people I'd want with the ball than LeBron. Buster, I love you. But that doesn't prove that LeBron's not the GOAT. Now, I'm not saying that he is. I've told you I'm not going to have this discussion. You can all have your opinion on who the best basketball player of all time is, and I don't love the NBA enough to really die on a hill on either side, right? I just love basketball, and because the Sonics got stolen from Seattle, I haven't had a team for a long time, so I haven't been as passionate about the NBA. I love the Celtics, and we'll talk about the Celtics, but I personally don't have a hill I'm willing to die on in the NBA and the Jordan and LeBron argument. But when Buster says 15 seconds left in the game, I'd rather have this guy, this guy, and this guy with the ball, what does that prove? That proves that those guys are better scorers than LeBron. MJ's clearly a better scorer than LeBron. Larry Bird, Buster says. Kareem. Kobe for sure. I could probably rather have Durant have the ball at the end of the game than LeBron. Those guys are pure scorers. I refuse to get sucked into the debate of LeBron versus Jordan, but yeah, Jordan's a better scorer. If LeBron did everything else better, then he'd be the GOAT. And you all will have your opinion on that. The Alex Cora thing, finally, before we get out of here for the hour, the Alex Cora thing is weird. I haven't talked about it because I haven't read the book and I haven't done a lot of research on it, but Evan Drellick, who's a reporter for The Athletic, and he used to work in Boston, he's been kind of at the forefront of the coverage of the Astros sign stealing scandal. So he's got a book out on it. And in that book, the excerpts don't make Alex Cora look very good. Talks about Alex Cora fighting in the clubhouse constantly with AJ Hinch, the then manager of the Astros. Makes a note about Alex Cora bragging to the Red Sox when he got to Boston about kind of stealing that World Series. Ha, 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 look what we did. I don't know what to make of that. Buster's right. When Buster says, look, whenever you're in the room with somebody, you're getting their version of the truth. Alex Cora is not the guy talking with Evan Drellick, right? Alex Cora is not saying, yeah, I was going around going, ha, 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 look what we did. So somebody is feeding their story, and their story is making Alex Cora look bad. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm also not saying I totally buy that it is. I mean, Alex Cora, I feel like, has been pretty apologetic for the sins of the Astros, for the sins of himself. He served the suspension. He answered all the questions. I'm kind of ready for that to just be in the past when it comes to Alex Cora. Even if he did yell at AJ Hinch, I don't care. If he did brag to the Red Sox, that would be a scumbag move. But I think the year off of suspension, I think he's humbled. So whatever he did 5 years ago, not really relevant to me anymore at this point. If he went up to people in the Red Sox and went, hey, look what we got away with, that would be scummy, but not really relevant. He got fired. He got suspended. I think he's been humbled. And, the players have forgiven him. So I'll forgive him as well. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. This is the part of the show where news and sports intersect. You've heard the story about, Vermont State University going to the digital library. Well, there's also a massive impact on sports, and I'll tell you why it's wrong next.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. At least 3 Americans are among the dead in Turkey and Syria, where a massive earthquake has killed close to 21,000 people. But CBS's Chris Livesay tells us there's still hope.
We were just told that a teenage girl managed to send a text message to a friend telling her she was still alive. Now, this was just after the earthquake, and so far there's no sign of her. But that's why these rescuers are just furiously removing every piece of rubble they can, just like they are in so many other places across this earthquake-stricken territory.
President Biden has promised voters that he will protect entitlement programs.
In Tampa, President Biden doubled down on his vow to protect Social Security and Medicare while accusing Republicans of planning to cut funding for the programs.
I know that a lot of Republicans, their dream is to cut Social Security and Medicare. Well, let me say this. If that's your dream, I'm your nightmare.
Republicans say Mr. Biden is mischaracterizing their proposals and intentions.
We aren't planning to cut Social Security, and because I called him a liar on the House floor, we settled that issue right there at the State of the Union.
That's CBS's Nicole D'Antonio reporting. House Democrats, meantime, want George Santos booted from Congress.
He's lied about 9/11. He's lied about the Holocaust. He's lied about his education. He's lied about his career. And as we all know, just recently, he's been now given classified access to important information and classified information that he should not have.
California's Robert Garcia there. Their resolution isn't likely to hit the House floor. Back in Washington, Southwest Airlines admits that it messed up when it canceled thousands of flights around Christmas. But Captain Casey Murray with the Southwest Pilots Association says this is nothing new.
For years, our pilots have been sounding the alarm about Southwest's inadequate crew scheduling technology and outdated operational processes. Unfortunately, those warnings have been summarily ignored by Southwest leaders.
Leaders want more accountability from Norfolk Southern for a toxic train derailment that forced evacuations in Ohio. East Palestine Mayor Trent Conaway.
We're going to hold their feet to the fire. This is going to get swept under the rug. I'm not going to be the country bumpkin that gets, talked over by a big corporation. We're going to hold their feet to the fire. They're going to do what they said they're going to do, and they're going to protect the people of this town.
The company's handing out bottled water as state regulators test water sources. More legal trouble for Alec Baldwin today. Attorney Gloria Allred suing on behalf of a cinematographer's family who was killed on a movie set in New Mexico.
We filed a lawsuit today alleging battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, and loss of consortium. Loss of consortium is a claim which seeks to recover compensation for damages to certain relationships that are mutually dependent.
Baldwin's also facing involuntary manslaughter charges. This is CBS News.
Attention business owners. Stop throwing your hard-earned money away on rent. Imagine owning your own building and saving thousands every year. Sound impossible? Not if you use General Steel. General Steel can help you save thousands by owning your own custom-designed building. Just call 888-98-STEEL or visit buygeneralsteel.com to see how much money you can save with General Steel. Our buildings come with a 50-year warranty, and thousands of companies, from Fortune 500 corporations to startups, have trusted the General with their building needs.
If you need to expand or start a new business, you really need General Steel.
I'm very impressed with General Steel. Everyone's been extremely helpful. I'd recommend General Steel to anyone looking to build a steel building.
Stop wasting money on rent. Call 888-98-STEEL or visit buygeneralsteel.com to find out what General Steel can do for your home or business. That's 888-98-STEEL. Our team will answer your questions and offer you a customized quote. Just call 888-987-8335 now or buygeneralsteel.com.
Amid word of layoffs at Disney, some good news for movie fans.
Has Elsa seemed weird to you?
In his call with investors, Bob Iger announced new sequels of 3 hit movies in development: Frozen, Toy Story, and Zootopia.
Officer Hobbs, I am in pursuit! Woo-hoo!
No details on casts, plots, or release dates, but Iger promises more information soon. It would be the 3rd Frozen film, the 5th. for Toy Story and second for Zootopia after last year's Disney Plus Shorts series. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Raindrops are falling on my head.
Legendary composer Burt Bacharach has died. He had dozens of hits and wrote songs for the likes of Dionne Warwick, Aretha Franklin, and Carole King. But he was also famous for writing TV and movie theme songs. Bacharach died of natural causes at his home in Los Angeles. He was 94 years old. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
I definitely don't want a new Toy Story, by the way. For that news report, Toy Story's had 4 of them. I've seen them all. You know, a lot of people of my era have seen them all. The 4th one ended very, very sad. Like, they don't all end on a happy ending, but, like, it was over. It's over. Woody left, right? Woody left. He left the group. You can't go back. You can't have Woody be like Brett Favre and Tom Brady and Waffle. He left the group. Also, Woody is like 30 years old at this point. So I'm out on a new Toy Story. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Emma Utterback, the UVM women's basketball star, is going to be with us at about 6:30. Her team just rolling right now. 9 consecutive wins. Before we get to the UVM stuff at the bottom of the hour, I want to address another story with college implications. This is where news and sports intersect. You've heard us talk for the last 24 hours on the afternoon news service, morning news service, midday news service about this story about the Vermont State colleges, right? We know that the schools are merging under one umbrella. We had the news story that the libraries are going all digitized. That has people up in arms. Well, the athletic situation has me up in arms as well. Here is what's happening to college athletics within our state university system. Castleton and Linden are going to remain within the NCAA. No change there. But NVU Johnson is now going to leave the NCAA and join something called the United States Collegiate Athletic Association, and Vermont Technical College, which was in that thing, is now leaving that. So basically they're losing sports and going to become rec programs and intramural programs. I think you can guess where I stand on this. I hate it, and you should hate it too. And there's a few reasons to hate it. One, let's start with the people that are losing their jobs or the people that are losing their opportunity to play athletics at their school. I feel bad for those people. Is it a long-term concern? No, not really. But in the here and now, I feel bad for these people who are affected. Coaches at NVU Johnson are going to lose their job. Coaches at VTC are going to lose their jobs. I feel bad for people who get pink slips as a result of this higher ed garbage. So I feel bad for them. Coaches at VTC, coaches at Johnson, head coaches, assistant coaches, they're all going to be out. The United States College Athletic Association only offers 15 sports. So some of these sports will no longer exist for NVU Johnson, right? This USCCA thing doesn't offer tennis, so those coaches lost their jobs. This new thing doesn't offer triathlon, so those people lost their jobs. So I feel bad for them. And I also feel bad for the athletes that now either can't play sports because their school doesn't have it, or for the people that end up transferring school. These people went to Johnson because they wanted to. It was supposed to be the meshing of athletic goals and academic goals, and now that's been taken from them through no fault, through no choice of their own. So I feel bad. You have kids that will stay at Johnson and lose roster spots because their sport doesn't exist. You will have kids that stay at Johnson and play as a part of this new organization, and it doesn't mean as much. And you will have people that transfer. And now their academic track will change as a result of their athletic choices and their athletic situation. I feel bad for those people too. Coaches lose their job. Players lose their sport. Players have to change their schools. And then people at VTC, I don't know that all of them or any of them even went for sports, but they just lost their sports entirely. I feel bad for that. That's kind of on the micro. More importantly, more on the macro, I feel bad for the young athletes in this state, for the high school athletes in this state. You should be able to be a high school athlete and have the ability to play college athletics in your home state. And now that just got harder. A whole university just got taken off the table, right? UVM, not many people from this state playing there, Division I, right? So that's out for a lot of people. Norwich, Division III, private school, really expensive. That's out for a lot of people. So where was left? Castleton, check. Linden, check. Johnson, check. And you just wiped away 1/3 of those remaining choices. I feel bad for those kids that now in this state will not be able to play college sports in their home state. They either won't be able to play or they will have to leave their state to do it, and not all of them want to be able to do that, right? I mean, a bunch of student athletes now just lost the chance to play college sports within their own state. And 3, this is a bad situation for the state. And I hope people realize that. I hope the people who make these decisions and the people who handle money at higher ed, I hope they realize that this is bad for the state. I've been working here for 2.5 years, right? And I've heard Governor Phil Scott say 100 times that Vermont has a demographics issue, that Vermont has a age crisis, that we need to get younger people to the state. We need to keep younger people to the state. We need to keep our own population in the state. Well, you know what's not a good way to bring young people to the state? Kick out, a bunch of prospective student athletes that want to come here. Okay. There are a lot of Vermonters that would stay in town to play sports at Johnson or play sports at VTC that now have to leave the state. And guess what? They may never come back. We talk about Vermont needing to get younger, needing to keep young people. Well, guess what? The kid from Shelburne that wanted to play basketball at Johnson, well, now he's going to Plattsburgh State. And the kid from Bennington that wanted to play softball at NVU Johnson, well, now she's going to some school in New Hampshire. And you know what? They may never come back. So we talk about bringing young people to the state. Well, the state just found a way to kick out several of them. And by the way, if you are a college athlete, chances are you're pretty dedicated. Chances are you have good time management skills, good teamwork skills. Those are the kind of people you want working in the state, and you just booted them out of town. There's also people that would come to the state from out of state that now they'll never get here. I went and looked at the NVU Johnson tennis roster. 4 players from out of state never will come here now. So for a state with demographic issues and age problems and all that, this doesn't seem like a real efficient way to solve that, does it? I hate when athletics becomes on the chopping block for other people's money issues. Athletics should be something that gets invested in, not immediately cut. On the micro, good people will lose their jobs out of this. Full-time coaches, assistant coaches at NVU Johnson and at VTC, they're going to be out of the job. That sucks. Student athletes at Johnson, some of them just lost their entire sport because this new thing, the United States Athletic Association, whatever it is, doesn't have their sport. That sucks too. Other people realize that I went here to play NCAA sports and now I don't get to. People went to VTC to play sports and now they can't because it doesn't exist there anymore. I hate that for them. I hate that student athletes now all around this state have one less choice of a place that's attainable for them to go and play. Most of them can't play at UVM. Most of them can't or don't want to afford Norwich or don't want to be at a school with a military lifestyle when they're not in the military. So that's off the table for a lot of them. There were 3 choices for student athletes in this state to play that were attainable and affordable, and you just got rid of one of them. And that's a problem. And then finally, all I ever hear about, the state's got issues. Get young people here. How do we keep them here? We need them here. Well, let's just boot out a bunch of people too. Vermonters that wanted to stay that now can't. People that would have come to Vermont that now can't, that now won't. I hate this. This is way above my pay grade. People way smarter than me. The money issues have been here for a long time. I don't care. I feel for the people I just talked about. I hate that athletics is always seemingly the first thing on the chopping block when someone's got money issues. I don't like it. 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Emma Utterback, UVM basketball star, going to be with us here in about 15 minutes. NBA trade deadline was insane. The NBA trade deadline was insane. It was at 3:00 today. That was the deadline. There had to have been 15 trades made, and they were coming in fast and furious. I think I saw that 51 second-round picks ultimately got traded over the course of this week. I mean, it was absurd. The big trade was Kyrie, Durant getting traded to the Phoenix Suns, and then the deal with the Lakers, Jazz, and Timberwolves where Westbrook, Mike Conley, and D'Angelo Russell all switched teams. Those were the three big deals. A lot of the other ones were largely smaller. Celtics got Mike Muscala from Oklahoma City, a shooting big man, kind of Danilo Gallinari light. So, it was a good move by the Celtics. But they didn't do much, right? They only get Muscala. By the way, the Vegas odds have the Celtics as the favorite still to win the championship. Phoenix, even getting Durant, they improved their odds, but they're not as high as the Celtics. The Celtics are the betting favorite right now from this point forward to win the title. Now that the deadline has come and gone, and now that the Celtics have held on to Peyton Pritchard needs to just focus on basketball. Right? From this point forward, Peyton Pritchard needs to focus only on basketball and only on the Celtics. Pritchard is clearly disgruntled. He's spoken to the Boston Globe. I think he spoke to another outlet. He wants to play more. He wants a bigger role. He would have welcomed a trade. Well, now he was vocal about it. Now that he didn't get that trade, it's just time to play. So the deadline for the Celtics was largely nothing, right? They get to stretch big man in Muscala, but now the issue is getting Peyton Pritchard to rebuy in, because it's pretty clear he wanted out. Like, he would have been okay being out. Now the storyline out of the deadline is keeping him happy, getting him to buy in, and him being selfless. We spoke to Ryan Russillo of The Ringer yesterday about Pritchard and his comments and his desire for a bigger role.
I like Peyton. I think he's had kind of a tough run of it because he completely banished him at the beginning. And then it was like, hey, you know what? We got this guy here who's actually pretty good, really good shooter, can handle a little bit more than you think. You bring in Brogdon after you brought in White, and you're like, okay, what are my minutes? I totally get it. He's worried, like every guy that gets trapped, and we're really worried about that second contract. But none of this is surprising. It's just, if you keep hearing it too much from somebody who's the 9th or 10th guy, that's when it can become a problem. I'm not saying that's what it is yet, but it's just my personal preference at some point. I'd be like, hey, this team's shooting for a championship. I'm not worried about where the extension is going to be right now.
Texter says you're absolutely correct. Thank you very much. It's time for Peyton Pritchard now to focus on basketball. Now that he hasn't been dealt, it's about trying to win the Celtics a championship and trying to get yourself a ring and trying to be a part of it. And if you want to deal with it in the offseason, then deal with it in the offseason. Right? We saw this a couple of years ago. Terry Rozier wanted out too. He was a free agent. He went and signed in Charlotte. He wanted to play. He wanted the money. That's fine. You want to deal with this in the offseason, then go ahead and deal with it in the offseason. But now it's time to be all in on the Celtics. I've said this for years, and I've said this multiple times. I am fascinated by what motivates guys. Right? Like, Peyton Pritchard is on a team, has been on a team that could win a championship, a team that went to the finals last year, and he's unhappy. Not everyone is motivated by winning in the way that you think they are or in the way that you want them to be. Some guys want money. Some guys want playing time. Some guys want playing time so that it leads to money. I'm fascinated by what motivates guys. I do not begrudge Peyton Pritchard for wanting a bigger role. I don't. Right? As I have gotten older, as I have become more of an adult, I have gotten more okay with guys who think out for themselves first. And I know that sounds selfish, but I don't care, right? I am now thinking, like, I am more okay with guys who have not so much a me first attitude, but we say it's a business, and guys who prioritize themselves, I'm more okay with that. I don't blame Peyton Pritchard for wanting a bigger role. Comes on the scene as a rookie, plays pretty well. We think he's going to be an impact guy. Doesn't get to play hardly at all last year because of Ime, as Russillo said. This year he's kind of in and out. They bring in other guards over him. I get it. He wants to play like Terry Rozier wanted to play. There are some guys when they're young in their career, they'd rather be the best player on a bad team than a non-existent player on a championship team. There are guys like that, and Peyton Pritchard right now appears to be one of them. I don't hold that against him. But now that he's here, and now that the trade didn't go through, now you got to play. And now you got to bite your tongue, and you got to reinvest, and you got to be all in. Because this team can win a championship. And ultimately, if you can help them land a championship, then that will help you down the road. Can Peyton Pritchard get traded in the offseason? Maybe. And if he's got a ring to him, a ring with him, and he brings about a championship pedigree, and he's been a useful player who plays 5, 8, 12 minutes a night, then, maybe he makes himself more marketable, more attractive. I can't imagine it would cost very much to acquire Peyton Pritchard. So he could easily be dealt in the offseason, but deal with it then. Terry Rozier, he waited his time, and he left in free agency. Peyton Pritchard can do that, or he can call for the trade in the offseason. I think he's got 1 year left. But now it's got to be about basketball. Now it's got to be about trying to win. Dane in Rochester is talking about the Northern Vermont University story. He says, Brady, you're spot on there. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, do a little research on what was called Act 26 on the closing and consolidation of small schools all over Vermont and the turmoil it put towns through. I don't know anything about Act 26. I got to presume that predates me coming to the state. I will look it up, but I certainly can't comment on any of it now. But I hate that. I hate that this story is out. Like, I hate that this is a thing. How many kids that want to play college sports and want to do it in their home state now can't? And then think about it here. Like, this is going to affect the kids that were going to go to Johnson now can't, or kids that now want to, kids that were at Johnson might want to transfer to Linden. And now those kids don't have a place to play because they might get bumped off the roster. This is not good for anybody. This is only good for somebody's wallet, for the state. And I get it. The state needs to save money and all that. I thought all this mergers and stuff we've been reporting on the news, I thought this was supposed to help the situation get better. Evidently, it's not helping the situation get better. I don't appreciate where we're at right now with this. I'm from New York. It's a bigger state. There's a lot more state schools. There's like 64 state schools by the time you include junior colleges, Division I, Division II, Division III. I was fortunate enough to play at one of them. I can't imagine if my school just got rid of athletics. I can't imagine if, all of a sudden a bunch of schools got lopped out of the state university program. I would hate it. And it would be bad for everybody there too. Luckily, I had a good college experience in that regard. But some of these kids now and some of these kids growing up, they don't have as many choices. And that's disappointing. Because somewhere now, there's a kid in this state that would have gone to Johnson or would have been able to play at Linden that now is going to a school in Maine or New Hampshire or Rhode Island or Connecticut or Massachusetts, and they're never coming back. And we're going to continue to hear the governor and future governors say Vermont needs to get younger. And I'm going to look back at you and say, you know what? I understand it's a smaller subset of the population, but there's probably 100 student athletes that you kicked out of the state in 2023 that you never got back. And it's just it will continue to snowball every year because kids won't be able to stay here and new kids won't come here. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM. Texter also says, this is from a bit ago, Brady, I can't believe how hot Buster was on LeBron versus Jordan. Ha, ha, ha. People get very hot on LeBron versus Jordan. I just choose not to. I don't have the energy for it. I don't have the passion for that debate. I thought the debate that we had yesterday was much more interesting. Like, are you more impressed by the Tom Brady out of nowhere story or the LeBron James, you had all the expectations and surpassed him story? And I was so rattled yesterday about trying to get Russillo on live, and he's texting me during the show. I was so rattled. I don't know if I did a great job articulating my point, so I'll just make it here again quick. It's not a blowout, but I think I'm more impressed with the LeBron arc. Like, the Tom Brady story is a Disney story. Come from obscurity, 6th round pick, 7 championships, one team for 20 years, winning in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. That's an incredible story. That's a Disney story. LeBron James, I think it's more impressive when you get anointed the chosen one at 16, when people wonder if you can be the next Michael at 16, when your games are on in high school, you've got all this money now at such a young age, all the endorsements, you're the biggest figure in the sport by the time you're 24 or 25. You stub your toe along the way in some various things. You overcome that. Number 1 pick, hometown kid, 4 titles, 3 titles, or different titles with 3 organizations. And you're doing it still at 30. I think the LeBron story, it's really hard to hit expectations. And the expectations for LeBron were so high that I think doing that and surpassing them, I think that's more impressive. And again, not a blowout. It's no knock on Brady. I love the Brady story too. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. UVM women's basketball beats Maine yesterday. They're a half game out of first place in the America East. They've won 9 straight. Their senior leader, their star, Emma Utterback, is going to be with us next here on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
Don't have time to stop by a bank branch? At Union Bank, it takes less than 5 minutes to open an account online. Union Bank makes opening an account online easy, and they offer several personal checking and savings account options to choose from. Visit uvlocal.com. Union Bank, a Vermont institution for over 130 years, rated best small bank in Vermont by Newsweek, and the top performing publicly traded community bank in New England by the American Bankers Association. Union Bank. Stay local. Go far. Member FDIC.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Radio Vermont Group Director of Digital Marketing, Nathan Wright, on the Radio Vermont Group Digital Marketing Experience.
The Radio Vermont Group offers anything digital. It can be connected TV or smart TV, social media advertising such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. We also can help design websites and then find different ways to get websites found, such as search engine marketing and search engine optimization. We can place ads on platforms including YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Every month you'll get digital reports from us saying how your ads are trending, who's watching, how many click-throughs to your website, if that's the program that you're looking to track, and how many impressions you get online.
To learn more about digital advertising with the Radio Vermont Group, including samples of our work, go to rvgdigital.com.
Do you want to learn more about the free market perspective on important public policy issues affecting you, your work, and your community? I'm Bill Sayre, and I hope you'll do so by joining me in conversation with Vermont opinion leaders as we discuss how best to make Vermont an ever better and more affordable place to live and work. Common Sense Radio with Bill Sayre, weekdays 11 till noon.
Whatever your interest, sports.
It would be monumental if they could come away with 2 wins right
Current
now.
events.
Vermonters are very used to a serious, deliberate budget process.
Weather.
Now, typically, El Niños and La Niñas have generally a weaker effect.
WDEV has a podcast for you. Locally produced podcasts of our own shows and podcasts from our partners at CBS and ESPN. To access the full listing of podcasts, go to our website at WDEVradio.com. Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
This is former NFL wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson, and now we're back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV Radio and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on DEV. Emma Utterback of UVM Women's Basketball going to be with us here momentarily. But the World Baseball Classic rosters are being announced right now. I know not everybody is in on this, but the American team looks pretty formidable. Obviously, they won it in 2017, so I'll kind of run down some of the U.S. roster here. Pete Alonso of the Mets, Tim Anderson of the White Sox, he's a shortstop. Nolan Arenado will play third. Paul Goldschmidt is there, the reigning NL MVP. Mookie Betts, JT Real Muto of the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber, Mike Trout, Kyle Tucker, Trey Turner, Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals, Cedric Mullins of the Orioles, Jeff McNeil, the NL batting champ of the Mets, Will Smith, the Dodgers catcher. So I look at this now, and I see the Americans have 2 first basemen in Goldschmidt and Alonso. One of them, I'm sure, will play DH. 3 catchers in Smith, Real Muto, Kyle Higashioka of the Yankees is in there as well. The pitching staff for the Americans does not look as good. Certainly kind of a lot to be left on the bone here for the pitching staff. Clayton Kershaw, Lance Lynn, Brady Singer, Miles Michaelis. Yeah, the pitching staff does not look great for the Americans. Again, a bunch of other rosters have been put out here, but Puerto Rico and the Dominican team, I mean, they should win this thing, right? Like, they should win this thing. Let's see. The outfield for the Dominican, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Eloy Jimenez, Teoscar Hernandez. That's pretty good. The infielders, Ketel Marte, Rafi Devers, there's a Red Sox, Vlad Jr., Manny Machado, Willie Adames, Wander Franco, Jeremy Pena, Gene Segura. That's pretty darn good. Yeah, that's pretty darn good. So, again, the World Baseball Classic roster is coming out as we speak. Kind of figure this. U.S. should be good. Dominican should be good. Puerto Rico should be good. Japan should be good. Venezuela certainly will be good as well. Right now, a team I know that's good is the UVM women's basketball team. They have won 9 consecutive games. They are 9-2 inside America East play. They beat Maine last night at Patrick Gym by a score of 68-60. Catamounts got out to a big lead in this one early. They were up 12 at the end of the first quarter. And then it was very even from that point forward. UVM ends up winning it, though, again, 68-60. You look at this team for UVM, they limited Maine to 4 of 14 from 3. UVM only hit 3 threes on their own, so certainly they're doing it in a different way than the men are. They got to the free throw line 18 times in this one. Emma Utterback led the way with 17. Catherine Gilwee of CVU had 11. Anna Olson had 11. Delaney Richardson had 10. So 4 players in double figures for the Catamounts. They are 17-6 overall. 9-2 in league play. Again, a half game out of first right now in the America East Conference. And they're clear of Maine at this point. Maine's 8-3, but UVM has the tiebreaker on them. So just keep it going. If you're the Cats, and you'll certainly find yourself in a position for a top 2 seed in the conference tournament. And if UVM could find their way into the number 1 seed, wouldn't that be electric at Patrick Gym? And they deserve it. They have worked hard. This program has been was really down when I first got to Vermont, but they have improved every year. Okay, Emma Utterback's freshman year, she's now a senior. Her freshman year, they won 12 games total. Now they've got 17 games won with, between the turn, 8 games left to play potentially or something like that. So they could win. This team could win 25 games, which would be an incredible accomplishment. But right now, again, they are having the best season, certainly, in all the years I've been in Vermont. And joining us now is Emma Utterback. She's one of the UVM leaders. They're senior, led the team in scoring last night against Maine. Emma, thank you for being with us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well as well. Appreciate you being with us. Are you starting to feel the buzz about this team? Obviously, internally, something's been going on for quite a bit, but community-wise, media-wise, people are starting to pick up on the success. Are you feeling that?
Well, I mean, it's been really cool with the amount of people that have come to support us. I feel like the fan base has definitely grown, and we feed off of that more than I think they even realize. So that's been huge. And I think we've definitely noticed a buzz, and we have confidence rolling, but I think we're still trying to keep our head down and grind through, and just we'll focus on all the different accolades and successes later on. But each game, we really got to have a chip on our shoulder and just keep pushing.
I think earlier in the season, a couple games ago, it was, hey, they've won a couple of games in a row. This is a nice story, but call me when they beat Maine or Albany. And now you've beaten Maine twice. You've beaten Albany now on your home floor. So how nice is it to answer those questions about can you beat the top teams in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's my freshman year, we weren't quite there yet. And I think ever since, we've been building this culture, each year we chip away, and we get more respect from people. And I think now we've proven to people don't take advantage of us because we can capitalize off of it. And I think we've gained people's respect, but now we can't let that pressure get to us. We got to take that pressure and just keep pushing because, it's very easy for all the pressure to get to you and you kind of crumble, but that's why we got to keep our head down and we got to appreciate the respect, but then we also just got to keep pushing.
Expand a little bit on the growth of the program, because your freshman year, this program won 12 games, and right now you're at 17 and counting. And to your point, it's been building a little bit every year. So how have we gotten from that point to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of experience on our team right now. A lot of people that have played a lot of minutes, seen a lot of college basketball, but also the work ethic is crazy. People are constantly in the gym. Not only are they physically working on their game, but they're also mentally working on it. So we're meeting with a sports psychologist. Our team's having weekly meetings with a sports psychologist to get our mind right. And we're also watching film with coaches, doing extra gun workouts. We're putting in the extra work, and I think it's paying off. And I've really seen this program grow exponentially since I've been here. It's been crazy.
It's been well established, and I've talked about this with Coach Kresge in the past, that your starting lineup does most of the work when it comes to scoring. Other players contribute, but the starting lineup picks up most of the scoring. But on any given night, you could have, one of those 5 all being the team's leading scorers. So talk to me a little bit about the depth kind of your scoring options and kind of the selflessness that it takes to, not be dominated by one player.
Right. I think that there is definitely depth that has been grown this year for sure. We have people coming in like Paula, Maria, Carla off the bench, providing great minutes for us, crucial points when we need it. And that's huge. We really, really need that depth coming off the bench. But also our starting players, anyone can go off on any given night. And it's just, who do they leave open more? I have faith in all 5 girls on the floor when I'm playing. And that's a really big deal. I feel like that's something that's definitely grown over the years. And to say that I have faith in every single one of my girls, I think everyone's understanding their role and they're doing an amazing job at doing their role. I think that's really, really important.
UVM senior Emma Utterback with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Catamounts are 17-6 right now on the season. You personally are playing 35 minutes a game this year, and you've played over 30 minutes a game every year you've been in the program. How are you doing it from a conditioning standpoint?
Well, I mean, I'm a senior now, so I got to do a little bit more recovery than I did my freshman year. body's hurting today. I can't lie. But I love playing on the floor. I'm a competitor, so I love this stuff, and I can't complain. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity. Not many people get this opportunity, and I love that Cress has trusted me all 4 years, and I'm very, very blessed for this coaching staff.
Pretty cool story the other day. I think it was in the Burlington Free Press, if I'm not mistaken, about your relationship with Catherine Gilby. And Catherine gets a lot of attention being the local product on this team. But talk to me a little bit about your bond and, even though she's 2 years younger than you, how you guys have kind of formed this great partnership on and off the floor.
Yeah, I mean, that's my best friend. I would consider her like my sister. I feel like 2 days into knowing her, we immediately hit it off. Her work ethic and just who she is as a person, like I felt like I was like drawn to her and like wanting to put up extra shots with her and just like kind of wanting to be that big sister for her as a freshman. And I think that I was able to give her advice. Coming in, playing a lot of minutes as a freshman, I was kind of helping her guide herself through that because that's something that I went through as well. And I think that through that journey, we really bonded. And now I've built a friendship that I kind of have for life. And she's taught me stuff along the way too. I mean, I know we have like a 2-year age difference, but she's taught me a lot too. And I'm very, very grateful for her. She's a great competitor, great teammate, and great friend.
Between all of the Duncans and Dylan Penn on the men's side and you on the women's side, what is the Indiana to Burlington connection? Because I haven't figured it out yet.
I haven't figured it out, but I mean, Indiana basketball is different. That's all I got to say. So I know that Cress is wanting to get some more Midwesterners. We got Anna from Minnesota too. So yeah, Midwest hoops, it's different.
What was it like for you to play a game at Indiana University or University of Indiana on the, your guys' season opener this year? It had to be cool for you to play a game again in your home state.
It was the coolest experience ever. I think it goes down as one of the coolest moments I've ever had in my life. I grew up going to IU all the time, watching their games. I would go courtside for the women's basketball games. So the fact that I was able to go there and play and just feel that experience and like that many friends and family coming to support me and Delaney, that was huge. And I know Delaney felt the same way, like such a memorable experience. For sure.
All right. So whenever I have guys on from the guys team, we play a little rapid fire at the end. I'll do the same with you here.
Okay.
Favorite place to eat on Church Street?
It used to be Sweetwater's, but they closed it down. But I got to stick to Sweetwater's, but I also like Spot on the Dock.
Okay. Who's in charge of the pregame music for your team?
Me.
And what is playing in said playlists?
Oh gosh, we got a lot of Drake. We got some old like 2000s hip hop, classic hits. Let me think. I feel like that's pretty much the majority. We got a lot of Drake.
Are you getting the nod because of seniority or because you have the best playlist in general?
I would say seniority. I mean, I kind of took it upon myself, but I feel like I got a pretty good pregame warm up. I like the hype music, so I would say I'm the go-to for that.
Super Bowl Sunday is coming up this Sunday. If the UVM women's basketball team is having a Super Bowl party, who is doing most of the cooking for that party?
Ooh, I would say my apartment. It's me, Delaney, Anna, and Marissa on my team. So the upperclassmen for sure.
And what would be the must-have on that menu?
Buffalo chicken dip.
If it's a 2-on-2 game and you get to play with one player from the men's team,
who
are you playing with?
Ooh.
Do you want a rebounder? Do you want another shooter? Do you need a better passer? So you got some choices here, but who are you playing with?
If I want someone that's like similar to me, I'm going AD because he's clutch. But I like Finn's game too, and he's got some height to him, so I might go Finn.
All right. So sounds like it would be a formidable 2-on-2 team there. So Emma Utterback off the hot seat. Appreciate you entertaining that. Catamounts are rolling 17-6, 9 wins in a row, 9-2 in A East play. Half game out of first place right now behind Albany, but they have beaten the Great Danes already, and she's averaging 14 points per game right now. Emma, appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of the way. And it's been a fun ride so far, and we'll continue following along.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. The UVM women right now, I told you, I got that feeling about the men, how I think right now this is their conference. I'm not at that point yet with the women where it's their conference, but I've been telling you now for a couple of days, we are at the point where we could get both teams in the NCAA tournament. We could get both teams in the tournament. UVM, to me, is the favorite on the men's side. I still think in a tournament setting, Albany and Maine and UVM are all kind of lumped together on the women's side. So I'm not ready to say that the women are the favorite, but they absolutely can win it. And if they can get home court advantage, make Maine have to travel down here at some point in the tournament, that would be huge, right? Talk about the importance of getting home games. The America East tournament is based on higher seed getting the home games. It's not all at one tournament spot. If they can get home games, they absolutely can win this thing. They can win it without home games, but it becomes a lot easier if they can get a couple of home games. Couple quick things in the Emma Utterback interview that stuck out with me. The relationship with Catherine Gilby is pretty cool. It was a great story in the Burlington Free Press the other day about their relationship. Catherine Gilby is the CBU product. We had her on last year on this show as a freshman. Very, very quiet. Right? There's nothing wrong with being quiet, but she's the point guard, right? The point guard is the leader of the team. She's very, very quiet. You kind of wonder, okay, how does that work? Well, Emma Utterback and her seem to have a good balancing act going on where Utterback, based on the story, well, and this was the first time I've talked to her, so I only have this to go on, but based on the story, Utterback has a little more of the outgoing personality. She kind of draws a little bit out from Gilby. Gilby kind of reins Utterback in a little bit. It's a very cool partnership, and it's worked on the court and off the court. And Elisa Kresge says on the court, Gilby kind of moves in slow motion. Utterback is kind of more like high intensity all the time, so they balance each other out there as well. Thought it was. I'm a sucker for people talking about playing in their home states, right? I am a sucker for asking people about games that are meaningful to them. So when Emma Utterback says we got to open the season against Indiana and that's the coolest experience of my career, I eat that stuff up. Right? I used to speak to Jimmer Fredette, and Jimmer Fredette was in the NBA for a while. So he played at BYU, but they got to play a game basically in his hometown in Glens Falls against UVM, ironically enough. And I remember asking him about that game and how cool it was. They called it the Hometown Classic. I love asking people about getting to go back to some place that meant something to them. I thought that was cool. And obviously, I think it's cool to talk about the growth of the program. I think my question to her about, by the way, if you were having like a mixed 2-on-2 tournament with the men's team, who would you want your teammate to be? I think that might be my favorite question in the history of questions I've ever asked anybody. Because as I'm asking it, I'm trying to pair UVM women's players with UVM men's players into dynamic 2-on-2 duos. Here's what I've come up with. So Emma Utterback says she'll take Finn Sullivan. That's going to be a tough team. Finn Sullivan's a three-point shooter and a good defender. Emma Utterback's a good defender, gets to the paint well. She's not a huge three-point shooter. I think she's only got 9 of them on the season. So you have kind of a good inside-out balance there. Not a real post presence on that team, but that would be an interesting twosome. I think I'm going to pair Catherine Gilby with Robin Duncan. Catherine Gilby, shorter player. Robin Duncan, taller player. Right there. That's good. Catherine Gilby is a very, very perimeter-oriented player. Robin Duncan is a very good post player. Robin Duncan's a good rebounder. Catherine Gilby is a good passer. That would be my 2-on-2 tandem there. Delaney Richardson and Dylan Penn would be my next pairing. Delaney Richardson's a three-point shooter, but also a player that can play down low. Dylan Penn is more of a athletic player, not a huge three-point shooter. So Richardson gets us the 3-ball. Penn gets to the hoop, brings real athleticism. Richardson can play down low, rebound too. I think that's a good pairing. Bella Vito, who is the point guard for UVM. Well, she's one of the guards. It's not Catherine Gilby. She's not really a scorer. I'm placing her with Matt Veretto. And finally, Anna Olson, who's another big player for the UVM women. She's not a shooter. She needs a shooter. Cam Gibson or Aaron Deloney would be her teammate. Now, I have just made up the mixed UVM 2-on-2 teams, and I think I've done a pretty good job at it. We'll come wrap up the show next here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. Did you hear what Kurt Warner said about the Patriots?
Do you own land with a single or double wide home? Visit Fecto Homes, where they can guarantee you top dollar for your existing mobile home, regardless of the year. They offer many finance options with competitive rates and down payment assistance exclusively for mobile homes. Fecto Homes has several models for sale off the lot or customize and order your own. Make the most of your time and money. Visit them today at 350 River Street, Route 302 in Montpelier, or online at fectohomes.com.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can find options that fit your budget, because giving you options is the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah, like when I hold the door for someone. Sure, it may be weird if I don't time it right, and they're a little too far away, and now they're running. And we're both asking ourselves, is it worth it to run instead of just, letting them open their own door?
But still, it's the right thing to do. So get options based on your needs with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting one-of-a-kind local businesses like WDEV to preserve the distinct character of Vermont.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Rise and shine with WTEV Sunday mornings. Begin the day at 6 with Joel Nasman and 2 hours of classical music, followed by the Takeout with Major Gary. A casual discussion of politics, policy, and pop culture. Then it's Jane Pauley and CBS Sunday Morning with stories about the arts, music, nature, and entertainment. The morning concludes with Sunday Morning Swing Time, an hour of swing tunes. Join us Sunday mornings on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Jazz with George Thomas is on standby. They'll be starting that program up at 7 o'clock tonight, going until 9. Then it's ESPN Radio tonight with Freddie Coleman and our guy Ian Fitzsimmons. Love Freddie, obviously, whenever he's on our station. Did you hear what Kurt Warner had to say? Kurt Warner, the former Super Bowl winning quarterback of the St. Louis Rams, got back again with the Cardinals. You know what he said about the Patriots? This one doesn't make me feel too good when I heard Warner talking about this.
If you don't understand how to run those concepts, that's a huge issue. I can't just throw something up on the board and go, well, I saw it 27 times, this week around the league, and it was really successful. Let's run it.
That's pretty damning. Now, it's part of a bigger conversation. He was talking about the misfortunes of the Patriots offense this year. He said the Patriots really didn't have a system. They didn't do anything to benefit Mac. And they were really just out there running a collection of plays. And they were running a collection of plays that they couldn't even run. That's about as inept as it gets. He's basically saying that the Patriots saw plays that were good, tried to implement them, and weren't able to do it. Right? They have guys coaching plays that they don't know how to run. They have guys steal, it's a copycat league, right? Guys stealing plays from other places, trying to run them without the proper schooling in how to run that system or that style of play. That's about as damning as it gets. For somebody in Bill Belichick who seems to do, who has said, I do the best I can to bring the best out of players, and I do the best I can to put them in positions to be successful. That's not a whole lot of making people in positions to be successful going on this year. Very disappointing. Kurt Warner did say he's excited to see Bill O'Brien back. He's excited to see Mac work with Bill O'Brien. And I guess, look, after being initially skeptical of a Bill O'Brien hire, I'm starting to turn. I mean, everything I've heard about Bill O'Brien, from guys who played for him like Gronk and Julian Edelman, to guys who cover the sport like Greg Cosell, who's one of the best film watchers in the industry, to right there, Kurt Warner, former quarterback. I mean, they're all speaking highly of Bill O'Brien. As long as he has the autonomy to fully run the offense, I think the Patriots have a chance in 2023. My biggest fear is that Belichick is going to try to use kind of, if O'Brien has a debt of gratitude to Belichick for giving him the job, that Belichick's going to try to kind of use that to manipulate things the way he wanted to, like he did this past year. If that doesn't happen, if O'Brien gets full autonomy over the offense, then this team's going to have a much better chance in 2023. Because, I mean, what Kurt Warner just said there, like, they look at plays, see plays being run and try to run them, but can't. That's about as bad as it gets right there. So it is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. That's going to do it for us. No high school basketball tonight. The weather postponed the girls' hoops game between Harwood and Lamoille. We'll tell you when that one gets made up. Tomorrow, we're on until 6:35, our final day of Radio Row at home, our Super Bowl preview, and then we kick it on off to Norwich and Hobart. Huge matchup, by the way, on the ice. So that we'll be off tomorrow about 6:30. Drive safe. I'm told it's rather nasty out there. So drive safe. Go download the full show podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is next.
Winter in Vermont can seem idyllic.